just received a message on our Facebook fan page where Sophia is saying, "Hey Poppy, I watch your show religiously. I remember a dish from one of your earlier episodes where you used chili in a chocolate pie. How else can you use chili with chocolate?" Well, I think Sophia is referring to an episode I did with Uncle Imran where I made a chocolate chili ganache pie, where I used chili to bring out the sweetness in the chocolate. But today I'm not going to make a dessert based on chili and chocolate. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to incorporate chicken with the chilies and the chocolate, therefore making a mole poblano sauce. Mole poblano sauce is, essentially Mexican and South American, but I'm not going to tell you what goes in because I'm going to go off, pick up my ingredients and tell you along the way. Okay, so I'm about to pick up the chocolate, and what I'm picking up is this fantastic cooking chocolate over here. In an original mole, there are about 7 different types of chilies. We don't get all those chilies over here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix and match. I'm going to use different chilies which are indigenous to our region, and of course which will make our mole very traditionally ours, so a version of our mole poblano. So I'm going to start off with some dried chilies. And now to the vegetable stand to pick up our fresh chilies to go into the mole. Last but not least, I've got to pick up some avocado. Why? Because in mole traditionally, avocado leaves are dried and their powder is used. Now, since we don't get avocado leaves, I'm going to use fresh avocado that is available, dry it out and mix it into my sauce in the end. So, 2 fantastic avocados, thank you. I'm done picking up the key elements for my mole, and now to pick up the rest of the ingredients that will make my dish. Assalamu alaikum. आपके पास drumsticks या whole chicken है? Technically, I think drumsticks are great because they're fun to eat. And what I'm going to do is pick up this 1 kg packet because it's really safe and healthy, get back to the kitchen and get cooking. Okay, we are ready to get started on our chicken mole poblano. But before I do anything, I've got to thaw the chicken. And for that, I have a bowl of cold water. It's best to immerse the chicken in a bowl of cold water to get the best thawing results. But what I don't like doing is taking the chicken out of its packaging because I think the meat soaks in all the water and loses its flavor. But what I do is make a couple of incisions to allow a little bit of transference of technology, so to speak. So in that goes, right? And now, whilst our chicken is thawing, we're going to get started on the mole poblano. I'm going to grab some onions and some garlic, halve them, and I've got 2 onions over here. Make fine incisions through the onion like so. Cut halfway through to slice and chop. And there you get a fine dice. It's like the omelette onion. So 1 onion I've diced up, and now for a slight difference of flavor, I'm going to slice the other one without chopping it. Why? Because I think the onions will release their sugars differently in the mole. So here we go. Next, for the garlic, very simply, grab 3 pods of garlic and just slice them up finely. Okay, so now get my pan onto a high flame. There we go. Straight into my pan, I'm going to pour in about 4 tablespoons of olive oil. While my oil is heating up, let me tell you what else is going in our mole. I've got some diced tomatoes over here. First go in our tomatoes, and we have to sort of get them searing. So my tomatoes have almost broken down. Just going to shift this here. Just give them a couple more stirs. They've released their water, so now it's, well, almost like a minestrone soupy soup in there. Soupy soup. Okay, now, as you can see, my tomatoes are frying away in there. I'm just going to grab all the onion and drop it straight in. Once the onions are in, mix them in well. Once the onions soften, we will just pick up the garlic and drop it straight in the pan. Once the garlic goes in, keep stirring quite vigorously to make sure that it's blended properly, because you're almost blanching the garlic with the tomato and onion juice rather than frying it, which is quite unique. And what this will also do is aid to the sweetness of the sauce. Now, first things first, my dried chilies. So the fabulous Chipotle, or my version of the Chipotle chili, I'm just going to take this, break it with my hand like so. 3 of these, drop them in. Next, 4 of the different types of chilies. Just going to make sure this is not sticking. I'm just going to move it off the heat. Whilst that's cooling down slightly, I'm going to put in 4 of my other fresh chili varieties. So my super hot green chilies, the Thai red chili, or the version of bird's eye chili that you would get in South America, that's just going to be kept whole. The large capsicum-esque sweet piquant chili, I'm just going to slice that up in rather large slices. This is more as a sort of garnish, and the larger the chunk, the more sugar it will release, more surface area. And then finally, the little jalapeno Mexican chilies, again, just sliced up. Now, as soon as the chilies are sliced up, get your pan back on the heat. Let it start steaming, and then slowly add in about 300 ml of water. Okay. Now, once this comes back to a boil, we're just going to add in all these chilies. Well, chili basically makes the sauce hot, but in this case, we're using this more as a vegetable. The trick of this sauce is that in 4 tomatoes, you put in 2 onions, 2.5 pods of garlic almost, and 2 chilies of each variety, and that should be your basis. So, finally, the little red chilies, but I'm not going to put them in whole like so. I'm just going to make a tiny slit in each, because they're super hot and they have a very tangy flavor, which is not synonymous to Mexican chili. So you've got to be careful when you're using an alternative. In they go. And then some cool spices. First of all, our 6th chili, crushed red chili flakes. 2 teaspoons of those, and about 4 whole dried red chilies. Of course, completely different and indigenous to us. Then mix all of these in. Now, of course, if your water is drying up, immediately add in another 200 ml of water. And there it goes. And then for the other spices. Now, rosemary and thyme, because they go into the traditional mole poblano. So 1 teaspoon of those, but not too much, because they're very overpowering herbs. They can sort of take away from the flavor of the chocolate especially, so be careful. And 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I've got to mix all this in, and of course I can smell the amazing mixture of all these chilies coming through, and it's quite phenomenal. Right, so now I've mixed all of this up. I'm just going to turn the heat down to about a medium heat. Cover my pan with a lid so all of this steams and all the chilies release their flavors, and the tomatoes, their water and all.